If you're still thinking about your ex months after the breakup, it usually isn't because they were the one. It's because the relationship never properly ended. And when something doesn't end psychologically, it keeps running in the background of your mind. Unfinished grief doesn't disappear, but it transforms instead. It turns into obsession, into rumination, into self-doubt, into the feeling that something is wrong with you for not being over it yet. Specifically when your friends around you pressure you into moving on as if this is something you can do instantly and very easily. And if this is the first time we meet, my name is Joey Sassine. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and the founder of Rinaya. I've worked with hundreds of people who are trying to recover from relationships that matter deeply to them. My hope is that this video will give you a glimpse of direction to finally start your moving on process the correct way. So, we're talking today about grief. Most people don't realize that what they're struggling with after a breakup is not attachment. It is not love and it's not weakness. It's simply incomplete grief. And let me explain. I once worked with a woman, let's call her Lily. She met a man at a public event. He approached her, they talked, and then something clicked almost immediately. Their interests aligned. Their personalities felt compatible. Their conversations felt easy and intense. And very quickly, both of them started to believe that they had found something rare, something special. Maybe even they were the one. And that's where the trouble began. The relationship moved fast. Too fast, in fact. Boundaries collapsed early. Mystery disappeared. Non-negotiables were never explored. Core values were assumed rather than discovered. And they literally skipped the slow, uncomfortable, necessary stages that actually allow intimacy to grow. And eventually, they break up after 6 months. And what I often tell people is this. You can usually predict how a relationship will end by how it began. A rushed relationship feels like eating a fruit that hasn't ripened yet. It looks good, it feels solid, but when you bite into it, it's bitter. One of the clearest signs of a rushed relationship is full emotional and physical exposure within the first 6 months. Basically, that looks like exhausting every meaningful conversation early on, becoming emotionally or sexually redundant, fighting over the small things that feel disproportionately intense. You gradually abandon your friends, your routines, and your own identity for this relationship. This is not intimacy, this is a fusion, and fusing within a relationship pushes you to sacrifice who you are for the bond that you now have formed. So one day, Lily noticed a shift. She texted her partner, but he didn't respond. His tone changed. He became distant, colder, less available, and when she asked him to explain himself, the explanations were vague. He claimed it was work draining him, family issues, sometimes his need for autonomy maybe, and she responded the way many people do when they feel a connection slipping. She offered understanding, she offered patience, sacrifice even more, but the problem is that she had nothing left to give. The relationship ended on a phone call, without clarity, no closure, just a discussion without valid reasons. And he walked away after she was at her most vulnerable. Now, whatever he was dealing with, we don't know. But what we do know is that Lily was about to enter a battle of her own. Was I to blame for the breakup? Could I have done something differently? Is there still a chance? Will he even come back? And for 6 months after the breakup, the relationship lived on in her mind. She replayed conversations, analyzed what went wrong, questioned what she could have done differently, wondered whether she missed a sign or whether there was still a chance at this relationship. For the next days, she checked his social media accounts. She tried dating again. She tried working on herself. She even tried reaching out to him. And the harder she tried to escape the pain, the deeper she sank into. Why? Because the relationship never truly ended in her mind. And here's how that happens. First, she stayed connected through social media. Daily exposure to his life, his routine, a reminder of how fine he seemed as if there was nothing wrong before the breakup. And when he moved on, it felt like betrayal, as if she meant nothing to him. She couldn't understand how he was posting pictures with other girls while she was still smelling his smell on the pillow that he used to sleep next to her. Third, her memory began to change. So actually our brains do not replay memories accurately. Each replay often softens the negatives and amplifies the emotional highs. Red flags fade, instability disappears. Moments become warmer, deeper, more meaningful than they were in real time. She wasn't missing the relationship. She was missing an edited version of it. And here's the thing, you cannot grieve properly unless you are fully convinced that there is no fixing for the relationship. A breakup can happen, but if part of you still believes it shouldn't have happened, grief never begins. You stay stuck, negotiating with reality, and grief starts the moment you accept that going back is no longer an option, even if you're still emotionally attached. That's why when I work with people who are trying to move on from a relationship, I first explore with them the possibility of fixing what is now broken. And only once they agree that there is no fixing, we start the healing process. If you want to learn more about working with me, visit our website, which is in the bio, and book a free call. Then you will have what you need to move forward without staying stuck for months or years in the same mental loop. So the question is, what does a healthy grieving actually look like? First, acceptance. Grief doesn't start with sadness. It starts with accepting that the relationship is not repairable. As long as you believe that there is one more conversation or one more version where it works out, you aren't grieving. You are still bargaining. Second, cutting access to emotional reopenings, because you cannot heal a wound that you keep on reopening. For example, social media, old messages, accidental encounters, all of these keep your nervous system in a state of threat. And this doesn't mean that you are weak. It simply means that your biology is wired this way. Third, you have to allow grief without turning it into self-interrogation. Because healthy grief includes sadness, anger, even emptiness. And unhealthy grief turns pain into self-blame. Grief is about mourning the loss, not putting yourself on trial. Fourth, stopping the idealization. Remember the relationship as it was, not as pain reshapes it. If the relationship was stable and healthy, it wouldn't have ended this way. Finally, building your identity outside of the relationship. Because you're not only grieving a person, you're grieving who you were when you were with them. So remember this, healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means your life becomes bigger than the loss, not because it stopped mattering, but because you finally learned to move on.